So today we'll be speaking to Anukriti, who is currently a senior user experience designer at LinkedIn. So since you studied at IIT Mumbai, at IIT Bombay, and you're now currently working at LinkedIn, could you give us a timeline of your career?
Yeah, sure. So I did do my master's from IIT Bombay in visual communication design. Before that as well, like I did my bachelor's in communication design. So I already had like a base setup for me before my master's. And going into master's, like I wasn't very clear as to what I will do after the course completes. So I was still figuring out while in doing my masters. But like a lot, I saw what my seniors were doing and the kind of opportunities that were there outside while I was doing my master's. And interaction design or UX design, visual design were a few words that I kept hearing. And they seemed to connect with the kind of skill I had, the kind of stuff that I like doing. So I was drawn to it. I wanted to pursue visual design, interaction design in consumer facing products. So my first job was a small startup in Bangalore. Um, and I started working there as a visual designer initially. So the way it worked is that there were a bunch of people working together for one product or like one project. And there were a couple of interaction designers and there were a couple of people who were doing visual design, and I was the one who was doing visual design initially. And I really wanted, like, the more I did that work, I realized that I wanted to do both and not just limit myself to visual design. So that's when I realized like maybe switching jobs would help. So I did that. I I went to Shanghai, worked in a very small design uh, agency, if you can say. It was multinational with people from all over the world. We were just five of us. So because the team was so tiny, um, everybody had to do everything. So I was doing interaction design, I was doing visual design, I was doing motion design. I learned a lot of things on the job. I learned how to interface with clients. These were people who were non-Indian. Like I had not interacted with any other clients than Indian clients before. So it gave me a lot of exposure to not just the design world, but also like why clients want to make this X product. So that really opened me up as a designer, and it made me want to do more product based design. So in the design world there are broadly two kinds of jobs. One is an agency setup where you have a team, and this team is built up of designers, managers, engineers, and you have some clients who would come to you because your work is good. They'd come to you with a project that has a timeline. So for example, redesign my website, and I am a water utility company. So they'd come to you, and just for that period, you work for them. So once you've given them what they like, your job is done. So pack up. But you never get to know what impact your design really had. So that is something that was missing in this kind of setup, agency setup. And I was very interested in knowing how users really use the products that I design. So I wanted to move towards this product setup. So that's the second kind of job that you can have as a designer, as a UX designer, is working for a product company. Product companies typically own a product or two, or like a suite of products. Like Adobe has a suite of products with Illustrator, Photoshop, and whatnot. And then they have a team that's dedicated to improving the experience of that product. And then, like, they ship out releases of that product, and users give feedback naturally. So sometimes you can interview the users and find out how they're liking your product, or even data shows you a lot of stuff. Um, so this is like very product specific thing. Like people would measure like how many people are using your product now versus how many were using before, and that counts for the change that you made as a designer on the product. So yeah, I think like that's what really interested me, and I moved back from Shanghai to Bangalore, to India, to pursue an opportunity in Ola. Ola was just like beginning at that time. Like it had started getting some bit of recognition, but their app really sucked. And the team was very small. I was one of the first women on the team. So it was challenging. There was a lot of stuff to do. I worked in Ola for 2.5 years, and I pretty much designed end to end booking experience. I worked on payments. I worked on categories. I worked on like post payment receipts and support. Um, yeah, like a bunch of stuff. I worked on offline booking, and just working with that environment. Like it was very fast paced. We were building and shipping constantly and seeing what works and what doesn't work. That really interested me, and I knew that this is my calling. This is what I love doing, and this is what I'm good at. So I wanted to continue that. And now that I had worked for like one of India's biggest, I wanted to work for an international product, which would have given me the understanding of how do you ship for like a billion users. So yeah, that's how I moved to LinkedIn, and I worked in LinkedIn India for a while, and then I moved to US. Um, it's been pretty great. Like there is a lot of work and a lot of learning, just because you're shipping for so many people across the globe. So there are a lot many more considerations than just shipping out for like uh, some thousands or lakhs of people. So your design decisions are more sort of um, purposeful in some way. So you really have to test out and be sure of what you're really pushing out. Otherwise, it can have like a huge business impact. So yeah, that's been my journey.
Yeah, it's quite brief. So, what are the career opportunities for students after they study design?
What kind of design?
Anything like design in general, I think, in masters.
So, like, I would say, like, right now, there are lots of variants. So, there's graphic design. And if you study graphic design, you could be a graphic designer. Graphic designers typically work with either like a print agency which does magazines or books, and you're designing like graphics for them. Um, Packaging design is another option when you studied graphic design. Another very typical way for graphic designers to go is towards advertising. And actually, like I also did advertising briefly. I worked in JWT and realized it was not for me. But a lot of people who study, like a lot of my batchmates from my bachelor college, um, went to do advertising. So these are like the typical jobs that you can get once you study graphic design. The other side is so my course was visual communication design, which is a mix of learning graphic design plus a bunch of other things. Like I learned information design, I learned interaction design. So I did a lot of courses during my masters and bachelors, which gave me an exposure to various other aspects of design. So not just graphic design, but there are courses in graphic design as well, and they do well too. Um, then apart from graphic design, there is industrial design. Industrial design uh, is a field where you're actually building physical products, designing for physical products. So, for example, a friend of mine studied industrial design and then, started, was really interested in furniture. So he just started building like started interning with another furniture designer and then eventually opened up his own shop and started selling furniture, which was like great. Like it was his passion, and he eventually like found that's what interests him. So yes, industrial design is a little more technical. Like you would do, you could also work for, say, uh, I don't know, like a product company, like which makes, say, like you work for LG and make fridges, and like improve the design of the fridges, refrigerators. So that's also a possibility. Then there is what else? Mobility design. Mobility design are designers who are working on automobiles. So you have a large automobile industry in India and outside, and they all need designers. So there is like a trained designer who's sketching out how a car should look like, and what are the things that would make it more aerodynamic, or what are the things that would make it more ergonomic when I sit as a driver, like my back doesn't hurt, or I have enough space for my legs, things like that. So that's a huge industry, and a lot of people navigate towards that as well. And then there is the good old fashioned design, and there are colleges like NIFT who still do traditional fashion design, where you after you've done the course, you can work for a warehouse where you're designing clothes. You could have like your own line, you could be an independent designer, open a boutique shop, or like work for bigger brands. So yeah, I think like these are a couple of opportunities. There's one that I missed, is textile design. So which is like, people think that textile design, fashion design similar, but they're not. Textile design is quite small. Like, it's not very well known, but it's also very important. Like we India ships a lot of cloth. That now that I'm in US, I see so many of these beautiful prints in stores here. And these are like American stores, and they have stuff that's coming from India, and it says made in India. And I feel so proud. But when I was in India, I didn't know that textile industry is so big, and there is a lot of opportunity to just do textile design, just do prints for clothes. There's like so much opportunity with even digital textile design. Earlier, it was just hand done with various techniques. So yeah, that's also like one of the thing that's possible to do in design.
Yeah, so I think after studying design, there's so many career opportunities for students to get into after
Yeah, for
studying it.
sure.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, what are the different terms you mentioned, which UA, UX, what do they mean in designing?
Right. Yeah. So you'll see a lot of these words floating around, like UI, UX, interaction design, UX designer. Um, so basically, the f- imagine that the field of design that we are referring to is user experience design. What is user experience design? User experience design is essentially experience, right? Like how a user experiences a product. So the person who designs that experience is a user experience designer, right? He creates a good user experience. So I use my phone every day, so many times a day. That's why a user experience designer designed notifications. They were like, people are opening their apps again and again. So how can we make it easy for them to understand what changed? So they made notifications. So so they improved the experience of a user using this product, this phone. Um, and then there are other things. So like right now, I mentioned earlier that interaction design and visual design. I started out as a visual designer, but then moved into a mix of both. So there are three terms to understand. One is interaction designer, one is visual designer, and the third is product designer. So these terms are very new in the industry, actually. They've just evolved over the last few years. Interaction design was just someone who designed interactions. Interactions means um, like a flow of actions that a user would take. And so you have something like a pop-up. How should a pop-up come? Should it come from the bottom? Should it come from the top? Should it come like slowly? Should it come fast? Should it be on this page, or where should it navigate me to? Like once I click on the pop-up, will the pop-up go away and it will show me something else? So what is that flow of events, and how do those patterns, so to say, behave, is what an interaction designer designed, and designs still till date. Um, Visual designer, on the other hand, focused only on the visual side of things. How does this website look? What should my logo be like? What size of the logo should I put on my website? Um, should I make this? I'm designing Spotify. Should it be like dark because it's cool? Should it be dark? People like dark interfaces for music. Maybe I could try that, or should I keep it white? Um, how do I show this information? How do I design this information? I want to show like India's top 50 playing right now. Instead of just writing it down, let me make it into a card, so that I can show more cards on one page, and I can show India's top 50, US top 50, UK top 50 all together, so that a user can click on any of these. So the focus again is more visual, although you're designing information, but the focus is a little more visual always. So like the I mean, even now there are specifically visual designers and interaction designers in many companies, but a lot of companies have now, uh, especially product companies, because they don't have the time uh, to like have interaction designers work on something and then like visual designers polish it. So they have now started requiring designers who know both. um, and that's what I do. So I know interaction design and I know visual design, and I'm working on a feature, then like I'll work on both together, and that really helps, because like the whole spectrum of things. I know what's possible, what interactions are possible, and I know the visual language of LinkedIn. So I use cues from that, and then like build on the feature. Especially like in products, it's better to have designers who have a mix of both. But again, like I said, I started out as a visual designer because I knew that's my strength, and I eventually learned interaction design while on the job. Like I did study basics of it in college, but I really learned it on the job. So you don't have to think like like you you won't know like how would you reach this level. uh, you will innately have a strength and something that you can work on. So based on that, you can figure whether interaction designer is the thing for you, or a visual designer, or you want to do both, and be a UX designer, which is what I do. And like a lot of people will call a UX designer as product designer also, because you're just designing the product, right? And when we say product, like in the interaction design, UX, UI world, product is like your app or a website, or like a digital product that you're designing for. Um, I think I missed out UI design in this. So you will hear UI UX design a lot. UX is basically user experience design, and UI is user interface design. So these terms are very loosely used. Like UI designer is a user interface designer. So you have an interface, right? Like a screen that user interfaces with. So you're designing that screen. But we're not really designing that screen. You're actually designing the experience around it. If I make a screen really loud and red, uh, it might make you feel scared, or like it might agitate you. You don't know like why it's so loud. It might disturb you. So you're actually designing emotions as well, right? It's not just like how a screen looks, but also how it impacts the user. So yeah, I would refrain from using the word UI UX design, because it's actually user experience design. That's the better term to use.
Right. So, what skills do you think students need in order to succeed in the visual and interaction design industry?
Mhm. So I think like the So a lot of people have this assumption that you have to be good in sketching or drawing. Uh, it's partially true because you don't have to be proficient. And like going into a college or a degree will eventually teach you some bit of skills. Skills are important. Let's say it that way. But because like you need skills to express what you're thinking. So if I can't draw at all, I won't be able to communicate with another person and tell them that this is what we should make, or this is how I'm thinking this app should look like. If I can't draw it, then like I can't communicate. So that's why like the course is called visual communication designer. So you're visually communicating a design, and it could be through any medium. It's either like sketching or digitally drawing it or photography and whatnot. So yes, as a visual designer, the skills that you should have is probably like sketching and just communicating through various mediums. um, you could be good at painting, you could do digital illustrations, you could do hand drawn illustrations. So just practice uh, how to visually communicate things, whatever you're thinking. Like if you're thinking of a story, you should be able to visually draw it. Like my drawing may not be super good, but I know that I can visually communicate what I'm thinking. So you can have your own style. It doesn't have to be like one specific style. um, so yeah, that's one thing that's really important. The second thing, like that was a very skill thing which can be developed. So if you are interested in design, you can develop that skill. Um, something that uh, people may or may not have is just an eye for detail. So um, and like those who don't have it really struggle in design because uh, it just comes naturally. You can't build it over time. It's very hard. I won't say you can't build it, but it's very hard. um, you just have to like appreciate uh, a good product, like anything. I mean, why did I pick up these specs, or why did I pick up this mug? uh, it has to be aesthetic. Like um, I like how it's uniform round, or I like the height of the mug. Things like that. You just have to find like an eye for these details that you enjoy, that are pleasant. Because when you like um, things that are beautiful in some way, you tend to design the same way. So if you're surrounded by really messy things and bad things, you won't find the inspiration to design something that's beautiful for users or for anyone you're designing for. So you need to be surrounded by like things that inspire you, that are beautiful, and like build your aesthetic around it, or eye for detail. So that's something that like a college won't teach you, that you have to do yourself. um, so yeah, that's something else. The third thing would be to be really like open minded and have the attitude of like constantly learning. Like I've already studied 6 years of design and then worked for 8 years, but still, like even now, I have to learn newer things while on the job. Um, because they're important. Otherwise, like uh, so it's not the kind of job where you do the studying before your job and then you're done, and then like through your life it's just your job, 9 to 5 job. It's not like that. Being a UX designer requires you to constantly study up. I do a lot of courses apart, like when I'm not working. So even on weekends, I work. I'm constantly sharpening my skills, trying various new tools that maybe I don't need in my office right now, but I may need them in future. And to be a designer that's updated, you need to do these things. So it's a very demanding career choice, and you really have to be passionate, um, like to enjoy it. Otherwise, you'll really struggle. Like it may sound cool, oh, I'm a designer, but it's a lot of hard work. So you have to be prepared to like really slog and work hard. So yeah, like be open minded and be willing to learn constantly new things. Um, and by being open minded, I also meant like being a little flexible. So, like when we design for something, it's not art, you know, it's not like I like to draw this lion in this way, and that's why I drew it this way. It's not art, it is design. It's a mix of science and art. Um, and it's because like there is a reason to why you do a thing in a certain way. So so you have to learn that, and you can't do things just because, just because I thought this will be nice. So there is a reason to everything. And if you do something that does not work, be flexible to change it. Don't get married to your design, to your work, and think this is the best. You have to be flexible to keep changing, keep evolving. We build like certain features and then like change them all the time because they didn't work. So so yeah, be flexible when you're a designer.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best for
Thank
all your
you.
design projects and ventures.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best too.
Thank you.